Proceed, Senator.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, sir, again under Standing Order 53, I seek request for statement on the state of roads in Nyamira County. Mr. Speaker, sir, pursuant to Standing Order 53.1, I seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Roads and Transportation regarding the state of roads in the county of Nyamira. Mr. Speaker, sign the statement. The committee should, 1, disclose the roads that have been approved for funding by the county government of Nyamira during the financial year 2019-2020 to 2020-2022, detailing the respective constituencies in which the said roads are located. 2, table a report on which of these roads have been completed as well as those currently under construction. 3, Mr. Speaker, disclose the funding allocated by Kenya Rural Roads Authority to Nyamira County covering financial years 2019-2020 to 2021-2022 and provide a breakdown of the budgetary allocations by the National Treasury per constituency. And finally, Mr. Speaker, sir, outline the plans the county government of Nyamira and Kera have put in place to ensure that the roads in the county are in a passable state. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Signed by Okongo Mogeni, Senior Counsel, Senator for Nyamira. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Murango.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to request for a statement on management of talent in counties. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53.1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Labor and Social Service Welfare regarding management of talent in counties. In the statement, the committee should, 1, outline plans in place by the national and county governments, even to provide infrastructural support and economic incentives for upcoming and established artists in Kirinyaga County. 2, state whether there are plans by the county government of Kirinyaga to establish a recording studio, arts academy, or any other income generating project for artists in financial year 2023 and 2024. And 3, update the Senate on progress made by the government in establishing the National Rights Registry, a central repository for collecting details pertaining to ownership of various copyright works and the Kenya Copyrights Board, Keshovo. Senator James Morango, Senator for Kirinyaga. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Edwin Sifuna.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53.1 to request for a statement from the Standing Committee on Labor and Social Welfare regarding the neglect of the families of the 5 freedom fighters who were imprisoned in Kapenguria, together with the founding father, the late Mzee Jomo Kenyatta, during the fight for the country's independence. In the statement, the committee should state the factors that contributed to the prolonged non-disbursement of pensions and benefits to the families of the 5 freedom fighters, stating measures that can be taken to rectify this situation. Secondly, outline the steps being taken by the government to ensure that the distinguished contributions of the 5 freedom fighters are appropriately acknowledged and honored in line with the recognition bestowed upon their peers and colleagues who actively participated in the struggle for independence. 3, state the existing plans or initiatives aimed at identifying, indemnifying, or providing compensation to the families of the 5 freedom fighters, as well as other heroic individuals who endured financial hardships due to the prolonged absence of their primary providers during the fight for independence. And finally, explain why the principle of honoring those who heroically struggled to bring freedom and justice to our land, as espoused in the preamble to our Constitution, has consistently been applied selectively and not on all freedom fighters. I thank you.
Any senator holding her brief? That statement is dropped. Next order. Statements pursuant to Standing Order 57.1. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I thank you. Mr. Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order number 57-1 to hereby present the business of the Senate for the week commencing 18th of July 2023. As you are aware, Mr. Speaker, on Tuesday we passed a motion that the House will proceed on a recess at the rise of the House later this afternoon and be back on the 18th of July, Mr. Speaker. Honorable members, this is to bring your attention that today we conclude part 3 of the second session in accordance with the Senate calendar. This far, a total of 38 bills have been published. Out of these bills, 21 are pending conclusion in the Senate at various stages. A total of 17 bills are at the second reading, while 4 are at the committee of the whole stage. The Senate has considered and passed 6 bills, 2 of which are awaiting assent by His Excellency the President, and 1 has already been assented to. 3 are pending before the National Assembly. Honorable Senators, I take this opportunity to laud and thank all Senators for their dedication and commitment that they have shown in discharge of their mandate as legislators. Following the August 2017 general elections, at such a time as this, the Senate had published 28 bills which were pending at various stages. 1 bill had been assented to and 6 had been passed by the Senate and forwarded to the National Assembly. This shows great improvement at this time, and I urge us to continue with the same spirit in service to the people who entrusted us to represent their interests in this House. Mr. Speaker, as indicated in today's order paper, at order number 8, 9, and 11, there are divisions at the second reading and committee of the whole stage. I urge our party whips from both sides of the House to mobilize the requisite number of senators for divisions to be undertaken. Following the passage by the National Assembly of the County Allocation of Revenue Bill 2023, it is expected that the county government cash disbursement schedule will be introduced in the coming days for consideration by the Senate. I want to laud the Standing Committee on Finance and Budget for the timely consideration of critical financial instruments and tabling of the reports thereon, and urge other committees to emulate this kind of dedication. Mr. Speaker, sir, with respect to motions, we have 22 motions that are pending before the Senate. I continue to urge the respective movers to be available in the chamber whenever their motions are scheduled in the order paper. In terms of petitions, a total of 12 petitions are now due for reporting. As I indicated last week, and will emphasize again, that there are 4 petitions which are due for reporting by the standing committees on roads, transport and housing. And I see the chairperson is in the House, Mr. Speaker. I hope he takes note of that. Due for reporting means that the statutory 60-day time frame within which we are to report back to petitioners has lapsed. And therefore, we expect you, Senator Karungo, and your team to actually report back to the House on the progress. I hope you'll take advantage of the recess to conclude on this business. 3 petitions are due for reporting by the Standing Committee on Justice, Legal Affairs and Human Rights. I don't see the chairperson, but I'm sure members are there. 2 petitions are due for reporting by the Standing Committee on Labor and Social Welfare. 1 petition is due for reporting by the Standing Committee on Education. 1 petition is due for reporting by the Standing Committee on Agriculture, Livestock and Fisheries, and 1 petition is due for reporting by the Standing Committee on Land, Environment and Natural Resources. I request the Standing Committee to expedite consideration of these petitions and table the reports as required by Standing Order number 238-2. Statements are increasingly being sought pursuant to Standing Order number 53 and others issues pursuant to Standing Order number 52. A total of 141 statements are pending conclusion by the standing committees. I urge the respective committees to expedite consideration of the same and table reports pursuant to standing orders. I urge and encourage chairpersons of the various standing committees to utilize Standing Order number 56-1 to present statements on matters for which committees are responsible to appraise the House from time to time. Mr. Speaker, it's important for our chairpersons to note that the provisions of Standing Order number 56-1 are available for their use to regularly update the House and colleague senators on the matters that they are actively considering before the House, Mr. Speaker, so that we do not have to wait and question them. With regards to questions, during the meeting of the SBC held on 27th of June 2023, the committee maintained the same set of questions scheduled for Wednesday 28th June to be scheduled for Wednesday 19th of July 2023 upon resumption of the Senate from recess. This came as a result of the postponement of this set of questions owing to Wednesday 28th June 2023 being gazetted as a public holiday to celebrate Eid al-Adha. Therefore, the Cabinet Secretary for Education will appear before the Senate on Wednesday 19th 2023 to respond to the following to questions by the following senators: Senator George Mbugua on PWD education needs, Senator Joyce Korir, Senator Peris Tobiko, one by Mariam Sheikh, Senator Cherargei, a couple of questions, and Senator Cherargei as well. Finally, Mr. Speaker, in accordance with the Senate calendar, at the rise of the House today, the Senate will proceed on a 2-week recess. Regular sittings of the Senate will resume on Tuesday, the 18th of July, 2023. Finally, on Tuesday, 18th, 2023, the SBC will consider and approve the business of the week. This will be business that will not be concluded from today's order paper and any other business scheduled by the SBC. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, and hereby lay the statement.
Next order, Clerk.
Order number 8, the Agricultural and Livestock Extension Services Bill, Senate Bills number 12 of 2022, division.
That order is deferred. Next.
Order number 9, the Startup Bill, Senate Bills number 14 of 2022, second reading, division.
That order is also deferred. Next.
Order number 10, Committee of the Whole, the Cotton Industry Development Bill, Senate Bills number 5 of 2023, division.
That order is also deferred. Next.
Order number 11, Committee of the Whole, the Employment Amendment Bill, Senate Bills number 11 of 2022, division.
That order is deferred. Next.
Order number 12, Committee of the Whole, the Learners with Disabilities Bill, Senate Bills number 4 of 2023.
That order is also deferred. Next.
Order number 13, the Mung Beans Bill, Senate Bills number 13 of 2022, second reading.
Now, honorable senators, we have deferred, I think about five bills that are to proceed to division owing to lack of the requisite number of the delegations. This is the last day. After this, we go on recess for 2 weeks. And I want to believe, or rather, I want to urge both sides. Let us take this opportunity to reflect on the very reason why we are in this Senate. One of the key reasons why we are in this Senate is to make laws. I have looked at my list to see how many senators that have released to travel, and a very few. We actually have the numbers in this country as we speak, but these numbers are not in the chamber. And therefore, 6 bills that will have sailed through division, we have to defer till we come next at the end of the recess. So, honorable senators, this is your house. This is your business. Purpose to make sure that once we have a bill committed, we take it all the way to avoid clogging the legislative calendar. I will call upon We are going to resume business on the Mung Beans bill, and I can see Senator Manzo Daniel. Yes, what is it? Yes, very well.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank you for that guidance, but the pain that I'm feeling as a whip, which is shared by my colleague on the other side, is that as soon as we adjourned on Tuesday, we started whipping and told members, come Thursday, which is today, they should be to vote. I've been whipping from 8 in the morning up to now. I'm very disappointed. I wish you could have a tool to make that communication of yours, Mr. Speaker, sir, more emphatic. It's very frustrating to be sitting here from 2:30 to 6:30 and allowing business to bend the way it is. And you can see the leadership of the House is leading by example. The leader of the majority is there, the leader of the minority there, all the leadership of the House is in the House today. So, Mr. Speaker, it goes beyond the House Business Committee.
Senator Bonnet, before maybe I respond to that, let me allow Senator Wambua to give us his wisdom in this matter.
I thank you, Mr. Speaker. I almost feel the pain expressed by Senator Alwale. But what he's asking for, in my very humble opinion, may not really be the way to go. I think, the Speaker, the one thing that we must all appreciate is a statement that you have made. And this is personal to every senator. The decision to just commit to the cause of the Senate. It cannot be whipped. It cannot be enforced through the Speaker's rules. It has to be a personal commitment to the cause. And as a Speaker, I want to implore myself and my colleagues and everyone who has any business in this Senate that, as a Speaker, we have an opportunity as a House to rise above the fray and to be that House where everything else, when everything else seems not to be working, then this should be the house of last resort by everyone to provide leadership, to provide guidance. The Speaker, as you have said, and I know I have also expressed the same to you, how beautiful would it have been if Senator, my chairman, Dhangwa of Kiambu, and all my colleagues in this House, if when we were going out today, we would have dispensed with 6 bills. And then we challenge the National Assembly and tell them, the ball is in your court. Push the bills to completion. Because at the end of the day, the Speaker, and I have heard Senator Majority Leader read the statement. Quite impressive business before us. If we can just conclude this business, then we will be remembered as that House that took their legislative role a lot more seriously. Mr. Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Senator Karungo, what say you?
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I truly agree with you. We have to remember why we were voted for, so that we are in this House. We discuss important issues, Mr. Speaker, but maybe I'm asking myself, could this be the effect of having a holiday in between the week? You know, sometimes it could be. I'm just asking myself, Mr. Speaker. And also, Mr. Speaker, I tried to raise the same issue, maybe not the way it was supposed to be raised I think on Monday, and I was told to withdraw and apologize. But I think when we're here as a Senate, all we have to do is to understand why we were voted for. And it feels sad that 6 bills have to wait for another few weeks before we get there. I think it also calls for the leadership of this House to invite us for what we call a kamukunji, so that at least people can discuss some of the issues maybe they're not able to discuss on the floor of this House, so that when we come back, Mr. Speaker, we will be one voice, will be one Senate that is geared towards fighting for the interest of our counties. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Let us not make this an issue of debate. Yes, Senator Mazayo, what's your wisdom in this matter?
Asante Bwana Spika. Bwana Spika, nafikiria hii sababu ya sisi kwenda livu, kumekuwa na huu msemo kwamba kuna wengi wetu huwa hatuji ndani ya bunge, na ni jambo la kusikitisha sana. Cha kwanza Bwana Spika ni kwamba watu wanakuja ndani ya bunge wakati kutakuwa na aidha mswada ama mtu ameambiwa aje kwa sababu ya kitu fulani. Bwana Spika, kama hiyo mwenendo kama huo utakuwa hautatusaidia sisi. Wewe ulichaguliwa na wananchi, huja katika bunge la Senate uweze kutunga sheria zitakazosaidia na kutetea kaunti uliochaguliwa. Lakini ukiona hususan wale watu ambao walichaguliwa ndio hawaji katika bunge, ni jambo la kusikitisha. Kwa hiyo nafikiria aliposema pengine yule ndugu yangu Kahungo ama Thangwa, amesema kwamba ingekuwa vizuri tuwe na kamkunji na tuulizane maswali ya kina kiwaziwazi, ya kwamba ni kwa sababu gani hili bunge letu haliwezi kuonyesha kwamba kila mtu anataka kuja. Kuna wakati fulani, wakati wa mwaka 2013 na 14 na 15, hata bunge lile lilokwisha pia, kama kiongozi walio wengi anaweza kukubaliana na mimi ya kwamba bunge lilikuwa likijaa sana. Lakini sasa kuna tofauti ya kwamba tokea tuanze hili bunge, na nasikitika kusema kwamba ilikuwa mapema sana kwa sisi. Leo tunafikia karibu mwaka mzima, tunafikia karibu na mwisho wa mwaka, tunaona ya kwamba bunge hili, wakati hata ukiingia ndani utakuta ya kwamba saa nyingine unaingia ndani ndio kengele inapigwa, na hiyo si kawaida. Kawaida ya bunge, uzuri ni kwamba sisi sote tuwe tutaingia hapa ndani tukae, na alafu baadaye wewe ukiingia unakuta bunge limejaa, lakini sio kuitwa na kengele. Kwa hiyo ninataka kuwauliza hawa ndugu zangu Kiranja aliye mbele kwa upande huu wa upinzani, na Kiranja pia aliye mbele kwa upande ule wa walio wengi. Bwana Spika, Viranja wanatakana kujua kazi yao na kufanya kazi yao kisawasawa, na mimi ninawapatia kongole kwa sababu wanafanya. Hata kwa upande huu wetu wanafanya, lakini sasa itabidi tuite kamkunji ili tuweze kuwapatia nguvu pia Viranja, ili kusema ya kwamba hili jambo liliongelewa katika kamkunji, na sasa Viranja wanafanya kazi zao. Manake mimi naona pia heshima inakuwa kidogo. Kwa hiyo Spika, hili ni swala ambalo ni lazima sisi tulitafakari kisawasawa. Asante.
Senator Aaron, you pressed your card to contribute to the motion or to... No, I want to say something. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just a quick comment is that all is not lost. We currently have 19 delegations within the Proceedings, 17 in the House and 2, I'm told, in the lounge. Maybe what I could ask of our whips is that if they try and raise another 5 senators, we are good to go, because we need only 24 delegations. I know that's a bit of a weird way of working, but we should do better. But what do we do in the circumstance? I sometimes ask myself what has changed, Mr. Speaker, because of what the minority leader is saying. I am used to a very vibrant House that is full of debate. That's what Senate is known for. In fact, many of our colleagues from the Assembly I'm always jealous of the Senate because of the opportunity to debate. But Mr. Speaker, maybe this break was needed, and we hope that in the course of the break, people will re-energize and conclude all that they are normally rushing out of this house to go and transact, so that when it's time for Senate, you sit from 2:30 to 6:30, Mr. Speaker. I always remind people, Mr. Speaker, that why do we forget so soon? During election season, people can kill and fight for a chance to come to this house. But then soon after they get a chance to be here, they want to be elsewhere, not inside the house, which is rather weird, Mr. Speaker. So I hope maybe in the next, we can proceed with the business that's ahead of us, but should our whips in the next maybe few minutes raise the other 5 members that are needed, we can always seek your indulgence, understanding order number 1, Mr. Speaker, to revert back to the previous order and we conclude on it. I think it's very important business for us to proceed on recess without the concluding on that particular business. Final, Mr. Speaker, I hope our 2 whips can also maybe, you need to, and I've always said this to my whip and I say this to my brother Sifuna as well, that keep a list so that as you come to the house, you know who's coming and who's not. Now we will just be ticking and saying, so and so you had assured us you are coming to vote, and it will be easy to mobilize. But allow us, Mr. Speaker, to proceed. Then should we get these 5 delegations that you are waiting for, we'd be good to go and we can revert back and come and conclude on that business. So that means that the people that are in, at least don't leave the precincts of Parliament. Just be within. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, and thank you so much for those who spoke. Thanks for your words of wisdom. I hope that as Senator Wambua has said, it goes to the personal, it's a personal responsibility, really. Having run a campaign and made promises that you're going to be the best representative of your county in the Senate, and then you're nowhere, where the real business of the Senate is called up, you're nowhere. I think it calls for personal responsibility. So I hope as you do your Kamkunji, that is the message that you ought to give to your members. This is an area where the Speaker has very little latitude, if any. You know, for me, I do not remember starting a session with a quorum, other than during the controversial impeachment or list of committee members, areas that are really not the key responsibilities of the Senate. So members, it is your house. We had issue, I think there were murmurs when we started, that the panel was taking too long. Whoever was sitting on the chair will take too long in dispensing with statements and all that. And I think we have now gone over that hurdle. We want to give more time to critical business, which are the bills. We have reached there. We are ready to move, and we don't have the numbers to do this. So I want to believe that as we proceed in today's business, the 2 whips, if we can save these bills today, so that as we go on recess, at least we can, say something that in this session we passed these bills. I think that would be a good record and a good score for us as a Senate. Senator Manzo, kindly proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me an opportunity to contribute on this very important bill, the Mag Beans Bill 2022, brought by my brother, the Senator for Kitui, the Honorable Enoch Wambua. Mr. Speaker, the Mag Bean is the green grams and also popularly known as Ndengo. Mr. Speaker, so that we may move with the Kenyans who are following this debate. Mr. Speaker, the Mag Bean is a plant which is very common in the drier parts of the country, especially Makueni, Kitui, Kajiado, and many of the farming, the coastal area, many of the farming dry parts of the country. It is a very rich source of proteins, and used by a lot of people as a food, and again also as a soup, and it can make quite a number of food substances. In Makueni, we have a processing plant which was sponsored by World Bank a while ago, and this plant is currently being reformed by the current county government so that it can be effective. But the plant will not work well if farmers don't grow dengu. And therefore, the Ministry of Agriculture is very, very instrumental. And unfortunately, Madam Speaker, the Agriculture Ministry, which is devolved under the Constitution, has not fully been devolved. Agriculture is a very main component of what we do. Agriculture is a main earner, or is a main activity Kenya carries on. And we have different climatic conditions, and dengue favors the drier parts or survives with little rainfall. And therefore, it is encouraged, and this bill is very important, so that farmers can now start growing this rich source of protein, and clearly is also exportable because it is a very common legume and needed in many parts of the world as a source of protein, and especially for people who are vegetarians. And Madam Speaker, there's a growing, practice by many citizens of the world. A lot of them are going vegetarian, owing to one-time scarcity of meat, and secondly, the uncertainty of meat, and owing to the treatment of animals and the quality of meat.
Pose the question, which is the taking into consideration the findings of the Departmental Committee on Finance and National Planning in its report on the vetting of a nominee for the appointment as a chairperson of the Commission on Revenue Allocation, laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 27 June 2023, and pursuant to the provisions of Article 215(2)(a) of the Constitution and Section 8(1) of the Public Appointments Parliamentary Approval Act 2011, this House approves the appointment of CPA Mary A.C. Wanyonyi as a chairperson of the Commission on Revenue Allocation. Can we put the question, members? Honorable members, I now put the question, which is that taking into consideration the findings of the Departmental Committee on Finance and National Planning in its report on the vetting of a nominee for the appointment as a chairperson of the Commission on Revenue Allocation, laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 27 June 2023, and pursuant to the provisions of Article 215(2)(a) of the Constitution and Section 8(1) of the Public Appointments Parliamentary Approval Act 2011, this House approves the appointment of CPA Mary S.C. Wanyonyi as a chairperson of the Commission on Revenue Allocation. As members of that opinion say aye. Aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? Nay. The ayes have it. Honorable members, allow me, before I go to the next order, to acknowledge the following schools in the speakers and public gallery. Moi Girls Kamsinga from Kimilili in Bungoma County. Tinga Tinga Primary School, Kiambu in Kiambu. Kimuka Primary School, Kajiado West, Kajiado. Ayebu Primary School teachers from Baringo North, Baringo. St. Mary's Cabernet Primary School, Baringo Central, Baringo. Immaculate Heart School, Butula in Busia. Honorable members, on your behalf and on my own behalf, I welcome the teachers and the students in the House of Parliament. Thank you. Next order.
Order number 13, motion.
Order. Yes, McClap. What is it? Before I go to the next order. give him the microphone. Is it because Baringo was mentioned?
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
Then
allow me.
Welcome everybody else.
Yes, allow me, Mr. Speaker, to join you in welcoming the teachers of Ayuba High School, the students of Ayuba Primary, the students from Kabarnet, the students from Kamusinga, and all parts of the country that you've actually mentioned, Mr. Speaker, that the Ayuba teachers are actually a public primary school, which was the best primary school in my constituency, Mr. Speaker. And those teachers, Mr. Speaker, together with others, actually mentored us into politics. They first elected me as their chairman of KNUT and elected a man behind me here, Honorable Kamuren, as their secretary at the same time. Mr. Speaker, they have produced leaders who are in this house, and we want to thank the teachers of Kenya for working hard to remove ignorance from our children so that they become serious Kenyans like us, members of parliament who are here, Mr. Speaker. I join you and say thank you and continue doing a good job for the country. And even if they were hit by housing levy, Mr. Speaker, I want to assure them that this government, with equal measure, will also cushion them so that they have better salaries and better allowances for the teachers of Kenya so that they work for our children. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Maclab. Next order.
Order number 13, motion. Ratification of the Bamako Convention on the ban of the importation into Africa and the control of the transboundary movement and management of hazardous waste within Africa.
On the request of the Chairperson, Departmental Committee on Environment, Forestry and Mining, orders number 13 and 14 will be, and 15, sorry, will be stepped down to appear on the order paper next week on Tuesday. Next, order number 14.
Order number 14, motion. Consideration of the Public Finance Management National Peace Support Operations Fund Regulations 2023.
Chairperson, Committee on Delegated Legislation. Is that Chepkonga? Are you ready?
No, I'm ready, Chair. I'm ready, Speaker.
Yes.
You know, the only thing, Speaker, is that we should be given notice when there's intention to step down certain motions in the standing order, so that I can prepare. But you know, as you know, lawyers are always ready.
You must be like the 5 clever girls in the Bible.
Except that
there were 10. 5 were foolish, 5 were clever.
Yes, it is.
So you
true.
must always choose which one you want to be.
No, Mr. Speaker, I carried 3/4 of the oil.
So you're half clever.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I wish to move the following motion: that this House adopts the report of the Departmental Committee of Delegated Legislation on its consideration of the Public Finance Management National Peace Support Operations Fund Regulations 2023, laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, 21st June 2023, and pursuant to the provisions of Section 24, Subsection 4 of the Public Finance Management Act 2012, approves the Public Finance Management National Peace Support Operations Fund Regulations published as legal notice number 58 of 2023. Mr. Speaker, the import and the objective of these regulations is to create a fund, Mr. Speaker, to be known as National Peace Support Operations Fund, in which the government is expected to contribute 1 billion shillings and 6 billion shillings to be remitted from peace operations that our troops are participating in. Mr. Speaker, as you know, we are currently providing or contributing troops to ATMIS in Somalia and the DRC. Mr. Speaker, previously, before the promulgation of these regulations by the minister, for Finance and Treasury, the monies that were paid pursuant to salaries, pursuant to the participation of our troops in various missions, has always been paid to the Consolidated Fund. And it has been very difficult for the Ministry of Defense to support the operations of our troops in those countries, because we have to appropriate that money that has been paid to the Consolidated Fund to the peace missions that we are participating in. So as to streamline this process, Madam Speaker, it was agreed that a fund be created specifically to deal with this operation that our troops will be participating in. And so, in the regulations, the National Peace Support Operations Fund has been put in place so that government contributes or allocates 1 billion shillings to the fund. And there is also an amount of 6 billion shillings that will be received from the participation or salaries that are paid to our troops that are participating by the United Nations. The second thing that this fund intends to achieve, Madam Speaker, is to ensure that the equipment that we supply to our troops are in working conditions. Members may not be aware that most of the countries that have contributed troops to peace missions send brand new equipments together with their troops. And you know, one of the things that United Nations pays for, it pays for the equipments that are contributed to the peace missions, Madam Speaker. And if the equipment remains unserviceable, that equipment will not be paid for the period in which it remains idle. And so what that means, Madam Speaker, is that the country will be losing revenue that it would have received if we had good working equipments that our troops would be available to our troops. And so one of the things that this fund intends to do is to provide or to kit our troops with modern equipment, working equipment, so that they are paid for the period in which the troops are deployed in the countries in which our country participates in. And so that is the main import. The rest of the regulations, Madam Speaker, is to ensure that the fund is operated, it deals with the governance issues of the fund. And so that the fund is operated in such a way that it can be audited by the Auditor General, and it follows all the procedures that deal with Public Finance Management Act. And so that it is a very short regulation that ensures that our troops are well kitted, they are well provided for, that we do not suffer the consequences of not being paid monies, yet we have deployed the troops, Madam Speaker. With those remarks, Madam Speaker, I move, and I would like to request the Honorable Bashir, who was formerly a major in the army, and he participated in a number of peacekeeping operations, to second this motion. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I stand here to second the motion. As has been said by the chair, this is a special kitty that has never existed before in our country, and I think it's now that time that we have this Peace Support Operations Fund. And the main reason is that we lose a lot in terms of the funds that are reimbursed from peace support operations that gets back to the country but not accounted for. What this peace support fund will do is that it ring-fences all reimbursements that we get from peace support operations. Remember that whatever that will be paid to this fund will still be utilized for peace support operations. At the moment, we have issues of the kind of equipment that we supply and we use in peace support operations. Some of them might not be very effective, might not be serviceable. And what the UN or the peace support missions do is that they will reimburse you in terms of how serviceable your equipment is and how many personnel you have taken for that particular peace support operation. So if your equipment is not serviceable, then there's a certain percentage that you get. But now that we have this kind of peace support operation fund, we are able to take serviceable equipment so that we can get 100% reimbursement. What this also will mean is that the fund will take care of troops as they go out there in the field, equipment that will be laid out there in the field, and that the serviceability of this equipment will be taken care of using this fund. The current situation is that they rely on any amount of money from the exchequer, and which sometimes and most of the time is not forthcoming. But with this fund that is ring-fenced, will be used specifically for peace support operations. It will be used to ensure that the equipment that we take to these peace support operations areas are serviceable and 100%. Whenever you take equipment that is serviceable, you get something commensurate to that particular equipment that you have taken. Now that we have saying that this peace support fund, that the Kenya government guarantees 1 billion and 6 billion will be reimbursed by the peace support operations activities and mainly by the UN, then we are talking about a 7 billion fund that is revolving, that will be used to ensure that our activities in peace support operations are well taken care of. So I think this is a good idea. We have looked at it from all angles and find it fit so that we have this fund. I second.
Honorable members, sorry, I was slightly distracted by the chairperson. Honorable members, I now propose the question that the House adopts the report of the Committee on Delegated Legislation on its consideration of the Public Finance Management National Peace Support Operations Fund Regulations 2023, laid on the table of this House on Wednesday, 21st June 2023, and pursuant to the provisions of Section 24(4) of the Public Finance Management Act 2012, approves the Public Finance Management National Peace Support Operations Fund Regulations published on as legal notice number 58 of 2023. What is your point?
Madam Speaker, you had allowed me to lay some papers and to move a motion with regard to the papers that I had requested for permission to do so when we'll be ready. Can I do so? Yes, hold on. Just hold on. It is still the business of the committee. It's not different. It's the same committee on delegated legislation. Yes, it is business. Madam Speaker, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the House today, Thursday, 29 June 2023.
To make his point of order, there, I'm giving you the mic.
Yeah, Madam Speaker, the member, the chair, has moved a motion for the regulations of the peace. It was seconded. You put the question. This is the time for members to contribute, and we dispense off with that agenda. Then after that, he can table whatever he wants to table. Madam Speaker, this is House of Procedure. You can't say, we have come here to contribute to your motion, and then you want to table other document. Give us time. We dispense off with the issue of the fund. Then you can table other document. So, Madam Speaker, unless the chairman has extra powers to move a motion, put the question, then present papers, then after that he closes the debate himself. If that's the case, then we just go home and rest. We go sleep.
Honorable Junet, he was just on a point of order. We hadn't even heard what he was going to say. You're speculating. You want to proceed, Honorable Chepkonga? Yes.
Madam Speaker, you know, I had requested the substantive speaker, and he told me whenever you will be ready, because it is an important paper to lay, just purely to lay, Madam Speaker. Honorable Junaid, if you had allowed me just 2 minutes, it will not be subject of discussion. In fact, the paper, it will be very important for his constituency. Madam Speaker, I thank you very much. I see he has noted the agreement. Madam Speaker, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the House today, Thursday, 29th June 2023. Report of the Committee on Delegated Legislation on its consideration of the draft charter for the Open University of Kenya. Madam Speaker, can I proceed to move the motion?
You were laying the paper, weren't you?
Yes.
Please, pass it here. Yeah. Okay, you've done so, Honorable Chairman. You want to give notice of motion?
Yes, yes, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I beg to give notice of the following motion. That this House adopts the report of the Committee on Delegated Legislation on its consideration of the draft charter for the Open University of Kenya laid on the table of the House on Thursday, 29th June 2023, and pursuant to the provisions of Section 24(1) of the Universities Act 2012, approves the award of charter for the Open University of Kenya. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
All right, honorable members, I now call upon the honorable member for Kawanjiku. I can see you didn't want to contribute? I saw your name on the list. Okay, the Honorable Karoli Amondi, member for Suba South.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I rise to support the establishment of the Peace Fund. I think Leo Tolstoy once said, the problem with an idle army is abundant idleness. And I think it is useful that our military gets engaged in international assignments. And if in that process they can also improve on the financial flows to the military, that would be a very good idea. I think this fund is long overdue because this kind of support from the UN has been available for a very long time. And I look forward to very transparent operation of the fund. I think that is why it has been isolated instead of being obfuscated in the normal military budget. It could also be a very good opportunity for our military to modernize its equipment, but also its operational procedures by constantly engaging with the United Nations in peacekeeping. It will also enhance our capabilities as a country for international diplomacy, and also to go around trying to strengthen our value systems as a country that loves peace and order. With those few remarks, Madam Speaker, I support. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Honorable Leader of Majority. Honorable Bui, I hadn't seen your cards, but you'll go next.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. And I rise to support these regulations, approve of these regulations. Honorable Speaker, it's indeed true, as the chair of the Delegated Legislation Committee has said and as seconded by the Vice Chair of the Defense and Foreign Relations.
People in Israel were not seen. The Israelites were